Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on SAP UI5. In the last session in SAP UI5, we talked about binding table control with aggregation binding. We also discussed about element binding. So out of multiple elements which a table is connecting to, we have seen how can we connect one of the element which is nothing but the memory which is allocated to every single element of a table, every single record of a table to the simple form and then do a relative path binding with the simple form elements. I'm very surprised to see many of the responses this time. Yesterday, many of you have sent me the answer of this exercise, and majority of the time I saw it was correct, but some cases I saw the binding was not done correctly. So maybe quickly let's have a look at the solution of this exercise. Together with we will also look at adding more different variety of columns. So let's go back to our web IDE, our application, which we started creating. And in this, we have seen that we created multiple columns as part of the table. Then we also added a smoker property as part of record of every EMP tab, every EMP tab record. And now we are going to connect this smoker property, which is a Boolean type, with the checkbox control. So many of you have done it correctly. I'm not pointing any of the example, but let me just add a new column and I say smoker, and then you can see it was the text property with which many of you have binded the smoker property. Now what will happen with this when you do this, guys? It actually connects your text property of the checkbox control. So I will also change the control to a checkbox control, and I'll see a checkbox being displayed as part of your table control. And this checkbox would have a binding with the text property of checkbox with the smoker property of your JSON. Let's see as a result what do you get. With this, you will not get the desired result, guys, because system would then put the text property of the checkbox binded to the JSON data. You see here it is coming, but our purpose was to display employees who are smoker like this. So it should come checked. Okay, employees who are smoker, the value should come as checked here for those employees. That's what we wanted. We didn't want a text to be displayed. So for that reason, don't bind it with the text property. So many of your answers I've seen you all have done wrong, incorrect binding with text property. That's not the game. You need to bind it with the selected property of the checkbox, which would by default select employees who are smoker based on the data in the JSON file. Now I come back and refresh, and you would see, oops, it's not working, which means there is something problem. So it's not selected. I think it's checked property. So let me just refresh. It's not selected, and you see now finally when I bind the checked property with my checkbox, it is now displaying the employees who are smoker as a checked mark at front of it, right? And it's pretty easy to handle this data. If an employee quits the smoking, then you can easily uncheck this, and that's pretty simple and easy and intuitive way of editing the data in the test environment. Now maybe I will add some more variety of columns. So maybe after employee name I want a new column called gender, and for that let's also go ahead and add some data in our JSON. So I'll just add a new value called gender, and then just provide a data later point of time. I'm also going to add something called a rating for employee. Yeah, so I've added two more properties. Okay, and maybe I'll also add the marital status, M status. So that's the marital status, and this is what I'm also adding as part of my employee data. So let me just take this up and add it for every single record. Make sure it's important. So now I am adding the rating here. So we will be providing now the values for rating marital status for every of the employees. So let me just go ahead and do that. Quickly provide the values. And I say married. And then I'll again add one more set of fields. Again provide some value. and single, and just adding all the fields to all the records one by one. Let's add it here again. Great. So now you got the data as part of your employee table for three more additional things. Okay, so you see all the values being displayed over here. Now what I'm going to do also is for gender, I want to do something special. Instead of putting simple male female, I'm just going to put an image path, an image URL as part of my gender property. So instead of displaying male female, we want to display a picture. So I need to somehow get a picture from internet. So let me just go back and search for a male icon. Yeah, and then you'll find many of the male icons over here. And maybe I pick up this one, this guy here. Right click on this and say copy, copy image address. Okay, copy image address, and you can just copy image address. Also, you can also copy the link address. So whatever you like, you can. So copy image address, and let's come back, and wherever I see male, I'm just going to put that gender over here. So male, yeah, here we go, and then Rimi, Raji, Jack, Meenakshi, and Gopal. So let's put that. And now next what I'm going to do is I will now go ahead and send check for female icon similar to the male icon, and now I find this one and just say copy image address and just go back and place it all the places wherever I have female colleagues. So I can just go ahead and add this value here, here, and here, and that's it. So now watch the magic, guys. So we have added three properties: gender, rating, and marital status. I'm now going to add three columns one by one. So let's come back to our XML view. So don't close all the unwanted files. This is the best way to avoid mistakes. Sometimes this is what happens very often to me. If there are many files open, I usually get confused and I by mistake make an edit into a different file which was supposed to be kept isolated, and that's the way, that's the starting of my problems. Okay, so what is a best practice when you're working? Make sure that other files, other views and controllers which are of no use, you can close them up, and that makes it easy and makes your process, overall development process, less error prone. Okay, so then comes is here, and I will want to add after employee name a new column for gender. So let me just do that. So I come here and put gender, and this time I'm going to use an image control. You see the power of template aggregation, guys. That's what really controlling what type of control you need, correct? So at least this is what I saw consistently all of you have done correctly. In the template property, in the template aggregation of column, you all have put the control correctly, and I just saw the properties what you are using is sometimes not the right one. So for image we have src property and bind it with the gender of the gender property of the JSON. So that's my one control. Now let's come back and look at the response. You should, what do you get? Anybody? What should be the response? What do you get ideally now? What do you get as a response? Anyone? You will get a image icon, images at front of every employee. Let's refresh. And voila, wow, how beautiful it looks. You see in the gender column you got beautiful images for employee male and female, much more intuitive way of displaying data. But the problem with this is looks so big. Let's squeeze it a little bit. So I say width of the employee picture should be 20 pixel, and the height of this also should be 20 pixel. Save this and let's refresh, and voila, now you see how beautiful your table looks like with male and female icons rather than conventional way of displaying male female. Let's add up a new column. So I want to also add a rating indicator, but before that I want to now show you that employee, my manager says okay, good, very good, very nice, but you want to now display salary and currency together in a single column. So what my manager want is, I don't want both the things in two different columns. I want the currency to be displayed together with this here itself. Okay, together with this here itself, guys. I want to display currency here only. Okay, this is important. So I don't want this extra column display the currency directly here. Clear everyone? How can we achieve this? It's very, very simple. Just take up your currency binding, cut it from there and put it next to the salary with a space, and that's it, guys. This is again a type of complex binding example. Now what will happen is system would automatically put salary currency together on the UI. Now one important golden rule, you all know that we have to make the bootstrap aware about it. So this is more important now again in this context. If you don't put this one, it will not work. Let me cut and save this and refresh and show you if my salary is combined with currency. No, you see both are gone. Now if I just put that back, save it and refresh, you would see yes, my salary is now combined with the currency. Clear everyone? What did we do? So this is an important aspect. If you miss this out, then you have a problem in the system getting the right output. Okay, now I want to reuse this column to as a rating, and then I will end up creating a rating indicator, and then there must be a value property for rating indicator, and just bind it with the rating property. Save this. Let's come back and refresh, and you see a nice rating indicator comes up over here. It really is not that nice because we are in a blue crystal theme which is built for SAP M library, and we're using SAP UI Commons rating indicator control. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that so nicely in that way. Yeah, because it's a deprecated library with SAP Blue Crystal theme, so it's not recommended to use this control. But just for your information, I showed you that yeah, there is something called a reading indicator which is supposed to display you some images. Okay, so now next, what else is another column I want to display, and that column is the marital status of employee, and I want for that to be creating a drop down control. So let's say marital status, and I want to create a drop down control. So now watch carefully. What exactly a drop down? Anybody, can you define a drop down control for me? What is a drop down control? Anyone? Can you tell me what's a drop down control? Anyone? What is a drop down control? It shows you the list of values. Perfect. So you will typically see a drop down like this. So maybe just, yeah, like this, you would see a drop down control, and there will be a nice little arrow over here, and when you click on this arrow, it will pop you up the list of values below. Yeah, and in this you will have all the set of values to choose from. Yeah, multiple values to choose from, and then you will choose a value, and that value then gets displayed over here on the user interface. Correct? So that's exactly your drop down control is all about. So this is how exactly drop down works. So now what typically is we want to do. So there are two aspects. One is this list of values. Another is what you select is what comes here. This is the actual value. So drop down comes with two things. One is actually the value property. So this what you see here, what you see in the drop down ultimately which is being placed, it's nothing but because of the value property. But this value has to match with one of the values, isn't it? Right? This value which you had put here has to match with one of the values present in the list. Correct, guys? That's what exactly we want to do with drop down. User is not allowed to put any other value other than these. Correct? So that's what we want to make sure. So we have to also put these list of values. Now anybody, if I want to automatically add some data to the list of this drop down, what is the best technique do you favor me? What is the best technique to add automatically the data to a control? What do you do? What did you do to add data to the table automatically? What did you do to add data to the input field automatically? The other example the other day we were doing. Anyone? What do we do to bring in the data inside a control? We do binding, guys. Okay, we do binding. What makes the data appear, right? Don't you remember? We are doing day and night all the binding only. So this is all coming because of binding only. This is all coming because of binding only. So binding brings the data for you, correct? So now there's one way is you get all the data from binding, or you can add data manually. Okay, the example with binding we'll see it in future when we have some available values, or we can see it now itself, or another is we can add it manually. So let's see first how to add data in a drop down manually. For that I go back to the UI5 SDK and search for drop down control. Here you see drop down box control in UI commons library. And now I first have to see. Now, anyone, what do you think? Whenever you have multiple values to add, do you use a property or do you use an aggregation? Whenever you want to add something called multiple values in a drop down, now in this case, of course, there has to be some aggregation for that, right? And now I don't find any aggregation here. What do I do? I don't find any aggregation here. What do I do? I don't find any aggregation here. What do I do? I don't find any aggregation. Go to parent
Go to
class.
the super class.
Yes, just go to the parent class combo box, and now you see aggregation, and you see there's an item segregation. What is each type of item is of type? Anyone? What is each item is of type? What is each item is of type? It's a type of list item. It's a type of list item. Each item is of type of list item. So let's add an item segregation for your drop down box. So I'll just come back and create a drop down box control, and then there is an items aggregation inside. And inside this now we can add multiple item. Each item is of type UI core list item. So let's add a UI core list item. So core is the namespace for SAP UI core, and list item. Now what exactly each list item of a drop down is built of? Anybody? What is each list item is of a drop down is built of? Anybody? Those who work with SAP GUI, you already know a drop down include what? Anyone? What is exactly each item of a drop down includes? We all know the CRM, WebDin Pro, ABAP. We all know that wherever we saw drop down in SAP, any drop down which you see, what is it includes of? The items of the drop down. It always have a key and text, right? Isn't it? A key and a text. So that's what we want. So let's see if we can see inside a list item a key and text property. So I go to properties. I don't find key and text property. What do I do? I don't find any key and text property. What do I do? I don't find any key super class. So you go to SAP core item class, which is the most powerful class in UI5. It's a very commonly used class, and you will find a key text pair in this. You see text and key pair. Always you will find it. So use key text pair here, which is coming from parent class, and that's just find this key text pair. Or I will right now showing you adding it hard coded data. So I say marital status married, and then the text is also married I'm putting. And then finally for the next one I would put single. Okay, this is how I am adding data hard coded. So if I have 20 items to add, how many lines I will be writing? Anyone? If I have 20 items to add in a drop down, how many lines I will be adding? Of course 20 lines I have to add. Clear? So that's like manual adding the data inside the drop down. Manually you are adding. So let's look at the response. You would get a nice drop down column at the end, and you would see the values are popping up for the employees in this, you see. But it's not taking the correct values because the binding for the value property is missing with the drop down. So the overall drop down, there is a binding for value is missing. So value of the drop down itself, I want to bind it with my mstat property of the JSON.
and now you will see it will display single. You see it's displaying single here, and then you see all the values are displayed from the JSON exactly. And but however, you have a drop down now, so it's very easy. If an employee gets married, you can quickly change the value based on your choice. Okay, so that's a drop down control. What is the technique we use to add items inside drop down? Anybody? Which technique did we use to add items inside drop down? It's a manual technique. Manually we add it. Now imagine if you have 500 items to be displayed. Let's say you are displaying a material drop down or a plant drop down. How many plants you have in ERP system typically? Let's say you have 1000 plants. So will you add 1000 records like this? Anyone? Will you add 1000 records? Of course not. You need to go with the binding, and that's where the binding comes into picture always, guys. Binding, the whole purpose is to bring the data automatically. Now, which type of binding you will be doing here? Items is what? What is items? Is this a property? Is items is a property? Will you do a property binding? Anyone? Which type of binding you will do? Yes, Raji is right. It's an aggregation. Items is an aggregation. Just now I showed you items is an aggregation. So go to drop down control and check out its parent class and check out its aggregations, and you see items is actually an aggregation, guys. So you will do an aggregation binding. Clear? So let's do an aggregation binding. I'll comment out this piece of code so that you can all refer it later point of time when you are guys practicing it, so that you can see also the above code as well, the old code. And always use binding, make use of power of binding. And I say value. Again, value should be binded to the mstat property. That's not a problem, but the data, the drop down items should be created dynamically. So I'll put here items. Okay, and then these items I want to create it dynamically. So what you do is, you to do this binding, you have to put your items here equals to the path in the JSON from where all the items must be picked. Okay, that's the path you have to put. And then here inside you have to just create core list item key and text. Only one you need to create, because system will automatically replicate based on the binding. System will replicate these many list items automatically based on the data which is there in this items aggregation, because you're doing a binding. So you just have to put one item saying that its relative path, and the absolute path goes here in the top of the item, which would then generate those many list items at runtime. So powerful concept, guys, so powerful concept. So let's go ahead and put this items thing over here in this curly braces. So what I'll do is, I'll just have to quickly add a nice little entity set in my mock data. So I go back to our data JSON, and let me add another table, and I say okay, status, maybe anything I can add it. Status I'm adding, it's an array. Okay, and in this array I'm gonna add two records, one for married, one for single. And then I say text, or I can put, let's say, my, okay, display text, whatever property name you want to give, you can give it display text. And I say uh, key, okay, key anu. Okay, just to show you that this is something which you can give your own values. Okay, and then I have similar to this one more record, and now I just say married, and this I say is single. Clear, guys? How did we created this record? And now there's a little problem here. The property names which you're putting in the JSON should be surrounded with double quote. So that's a mistake I've done. That's why WebID is also telling me an error. And you see error is gone from WebID. So now anybody, what is the path for binding the aggregation? What is the absolute path? What is the absolute path you will use? Anyone? What is your absolute path? Perfect answer. Slash statuses is the absolute path which you will bind with items. Done. What is the relative path for key and text? What is the relative path for key? What is the relative path for key? Tell me the relative path for key, guys. What is the relative path for key? Anyone? What is the relative path for key? It's key Anu. That's what is the relative path for key. Just put it here. What's a relative path for text? It's display text. Let's bring in here. See the magic now. System would automatically replicate those many list items based on the binding. It checks the parent. In the parent, it finds two records. It creates clone of list item two times, and for each record it will get the data from first the corresponding record from the JSON. Save this and let's come and test it. You see, this is the best way to fetch the data, guys. Binding makes thing happen. You see, output works absolutely same, no difference for user, but for a big difference for a programmer. Now I'll tell you the advantage. If I just go back and add another entry here, okay, add another entry here, pretty simple. Just add another entry here and say unknown. So let's say an employee marital status is unknown. I just add another entry. What do you see here? What do you see now as a result? What do you see as a result, guys? You would see three items inside your drop down. Three items: married, single, and unknown. You see, guys, it has come up because you have just changed the data. It's a binding. It dynamically reads the data and does it, which means if this data is coming from your ERP system, from Mara table, from plant table, whatever, it takes automatically those many values and automatically generates the items for you. That's the real power of your binding concept, and that's what exactly happened in table case also. In table also, if you remember, we have seen that it was creating automatically these records due to binding. Clear everyone, the binding concept to all of you? The power of binding concept. We don't want to end up putting 300 500 plants here in the drop down. Just do the binding and forget it. It automatically takes the data from the data model entity set. That's the power of the binding concept. Clear everyone, why we didn't put manually these items? So hope this example gave you a lot of clarity of the reason why we do binding. The reason why we do binding is because of this aggregation binding. It clones those many list item based on that. Okay, now switching over to the next model concept, which is XML model. So we saw XML is also very powerful technique. So I can also now show you quickly creating an XML model. So what I'll do is I'll right click and say new and say create a file and just give a name to the file. So I will be creating an XML file. So I'm just say my data x.xml. Okay, and I'm just going to put an XML into this. Okay, so to put an XML, guys, we always start with XML declaration. Okay, we always start with an XML declaration. So XML declaration has to be done to get started with an XML. So it's always done like this: question mark XML version equals to, let's say, 1.0. This is how an XML declaration is typically done. You can also check it on internet, say XML declaration, and you will find some examples how an XML should be declared. You see question mark XML and its version, and then end with again question mark and end tag. This is how an XML is declared. So question mark XML and end with a question mark. This is how typically an XML is declared in the for the data purpose. And I'll just add a node in this, let's say data node. Okay, and in this data node I will add, let's say, an employee tab data. Yeah, so we are preparing an XML, and then employee tab, I just want in this employee tab I want the data for each employee. So I will create a record row. Okay, so I'm creating a row, guys. So each row will have now my data for employee, emp id, employee name, salary, currency, marital status, then we have gender, then we have smoker. So it doesn't matter, the order of the property doesn't matter, because you are anyways doing a binding with your columns. So column already knows which property to pick data from, and that's why I'm showcasing you exclusively by reordering things. So you see the order what we have now in XML is exactly not following the order what we had in JSON. So it doesn't matter, because your column knows the which property it has to connect to using relative path. So you don't have to worry really about the order the way you do it in ABAP. Sometimes the order in ABAP program in an internal table matters for you. So same way here, it has no meaning actually. So salary, currency, marital status, gender, smoker. What else we had? Let me just check. Salary, currency, rating also one parameter. And yes, and I say save this, and that's how my one record of my XML is looking like. And I can have multiple records like this. You can also validate your XML. So copy this, and maybe there must be some online tools to validate the XML. So validate XML, search for that, and you see this XML validation, and just place it, and I can just say validate, and it does me a validation, and you see it gives me an error indeed too. And you see there's a issue with line number 70. XML document structure must be end with the same entity. So there's something which we had created but we didn't end it properly. So line number 16 we are seeing an data problem, and that's okay. Input tab is there.
After version number 1.4.
I forgot to put this. And yes, the moment I do this, you see web id comes into picture, and it shows me kind of a hierarchy properly. So that's the beauty of my web id XML. And now I can replicate these many rows. So maybe just put employee number starting with 900 for XML data, just to differentiate the data. And I say employee name is Fujitsu, and I say just salary is 5,000 Japanese yen, marital status is single, gender is, I'm gonna get the picture of gender, so maybe I'll just get that. So go back here to my data JSON, and then get a picture for a male employee, and then just paste it here, and then smoker is say false, and then rating is, let's say, 5. So that's one record of my XML data. Clear guys how to create XML data? And now just replicate these records. So maybe I won't put too much of records. I just put 901, and I say Nancy, and I say 3,000, and I say US dollars. Say single. We got to get a right icon for Nancy. So that's what right now I'm just removing it. And then I say smoker is true, rating is 4. And then comes is 902, and I say Matthias, and I say 2,580 euros. He's a married man, and then his smoker is false, rating is 3. And then comes his, oops, 902 is what I wanted. So let's, for this guy, 903, and I say Abe, and I say salary is 6,300, and I say uh, British pound, and then this is single, this is married, and then male, smoker is true, rating is 2. Then comes is the last record 904, and then I will put here some say Robert, and then I say 4580 euros, and I say single, smoker is true, rating is 1. Okay, so that's my data. You see it's an XML data which I prepared quickly on fly, and this is the data I want to pump in, guys. Now it's part of my table control. Okay, so time for action. Just go ahead and create the data model. So we have a model.js which is reusable, and I'd already created a provision for creating my XML model, and it's very simple. It's a 3-step process. First, define a brand new model object, new SAP UI model, XML model, and then just load data into the guy. So let's say load the data from the file, and the path of the file is models folder slash mock data slash my data x. It's case sensitive, be careful. And that's your loading of data, and then finally return the instance of model object out. Done guys, your congratulations, XML model is created. Let's set this XML model as a default model for our current application. um, One interesting point I missed it is, you remember we are using dropdown for marital status, which is bringing the values. So okay, maybe I just skip it intentionally and show you what's the behavior. So we will make this will be as a default model for my app. So let's go to the controller, and instead of calling this method create employee JSON model, I just change it to create XML model. Maybe I'll comment out the above piece of code and show you creating the other guy, and just name it create XML model. No flag passing into this, not required anymore, and we are done. Clear? So that's my XML model creation, and I'm setting it as a default model for application, guys. Now, shouldn't we give the path of XML with the extension file? Yes, I guess you're right. We have to also give the path of the XML in models.js. Here I did it with the JSON, and I think I should also give the path of my XML file with .xml extension. Very important point. Thank you for notifying this. Just like the way you gave .json file path, you also have to give .xml extension. Very important point. Thank you so much for correcting me, and maybe we will just go ahead and test it. Maybe let's go ahead and test it. So the beauty here is you have your XML data with same properties. So intentionally we make sure that our property names, emp tab, emp id, and employee name, all of them remains same. But now there is a little trick here. The trick is XML is repeating the records in a row element. You see the row element is repeating the records. So the actual binding should not be done with emp tab. It should be done with the row element. Okay, it should be done with the row element. So first let me show you the output. If it works, it doesn't work, it will fail actually. It won't show me any data. You see data is gone. Now what you need to do to make it work is you just have to correct your binding in the view. So go to your view, and you see slash emp tab is what we were binding earlier. Just add slash row also, and we are done. It will now connect to the records of XML, and as a result you see it's popping up the data. But oops, I see the table seems to be not so well. Okay, so we need to really see what is that something going wrong with it. You see ideally 901 should have got displayed, but it is not. There is something going wrong with it. I'm just refresh again. Every time I refresh, one record is getting disappeared. Okay, there is some problem, guys. So slash emp tab slash row is what we have to bind. That's it. And then it should bring in the data all what we need. I think there is some bug inside this control why it is not getting the right data. But you see the beauty of element binding, the element binding works as natural as it was working with JSON model also. Yeah, so you see that's the beauty of element binding. There is some problem with table control, guys, to display this XML model data properly. So this is a bug into the control, I guess, with XML model, which I have to report to SAP by writing a ticket onto the SAP component. So that's something which I will do it today. So you can see here, but at least the data is coming. The first two rows are anyways blank. I don't know the reason. And you see they're not displaying the rows. Actually, the row is there. You see when I'm selecting the record, it's actually displaying me the data Fujitsu 500 JPY, but the data is not visible on the user interface. Okay, guys, it's not visible. And if you press F12 and see the console, you see again some errors. You see there is an error, very important. This could be the reason of our data not popping up in the table, guys. This could be the reason. The reason here is XML supply the data to the control always as a string data. You see here error, true is of type string, expecting a boolean property for checked. So you remember we have done a binding with smoker, and it's a checked property which expects a boolean value always. Though XML, however, the XML is passing all the data as a string value, hence system is unable to interpret this data type, hence it's failing. So I will just remove the binding with smoker. Okay, I'll just remove it with blank, and I will also remove with the binding with the rating indicator. That also I will remove it. Okay, so that also I will remove. Save this. Let's come back and refresh, and now let's see what happens. Oops, it's, and now again some error is coming. You see it's giving an error called expected a boolean property for checked. I think I should remove the check property completely because it should not be blank also. I remove it completely. I also remove the rating value property completely and refresh, and let's see, voila. So that was the issue, actually not a bug in UI5. It was my mistake. I saw the console, I saw the value, XML was supplying the value as a string value, and then as a result what was happening is system was unable to display the data properly. And now you see it all works with my XML model, and your element binding concept really works pretty well without any additional code change, because it's just a concept of binding. Doesn't matter which model are you using, XML, JSON, or in future we'll use OData. Element binding works as it is without really you having to do more changes to it. Clear, guys? XML model, how to work with XML model, and how to create an XML. So there's an exercise for all of you. What I want is a button. Okay, so I showed you flip flop example where we were flipping the model. Okay, now let's see who all can do this. So you need to now have an XML model and a JSON model, and you need to put a button which does switching between these two models. As a result, the table, the whole table data will change between XML and JSON model. Clear, guys? You need to demonstrate this example to me. So get me a good quality code to solve this problem. Hope you all understood the exercise. You need to put a button. On click of the toggle button, you need to show me flipping the XML and JSON models. So by far in the previous class we created two JSON models and we were seeing a flip between them. Here you have one XML model, one JSON model, both works together. So which means you have to give some name to the another one, and then you need to click on a button. You need to flip the model at runtime. Okay, and then it should then display the data flipping between the XML and JSON. Remember, one limitation with this is these two properties, rating and smoker won't work, because we saw in XML case it was treated like a string data, and so it was, the binding itself was not working fine. Okay, so this is something you can ignore for the exercise. I will show you solution of this also. Okay, I will show you solution of this also going forward, but right now you can skip it. Now you see my drop down values are not popping up. Why? With XML model, the moment I switch to XML, my drop down values are gone. The reason is because the source data of this dropdown is status table, correct? You're right, which was there in the JSON, but it's missing in XML. So in your JSON file, you had something called status. Okay, and you had this display text and key anu which was present in JSON, but no more there in XML. So you got to bring that also. So let's go back, and now just going to include status, and then I say record one, and in this display text merit key anu, and then I'm just going to add another record here quickly and say single, and then I'm just going to do the binding also with slash status slash record, guys. That's more important for me, going back in back into the code, and with the drop down where we have the binding slash statuses slash record, because it's an XML model now. So I just do this quickly and I'll show you what happens. As a result, you would see your values popping up into the drop down box. So majority of the time, 80% of case, or I would say maybe 60% to 70% of case, on a safer side, whenever you see data not coming issue, whenever you see data not coming issue, what type of issues it is? Whenever a user report to you an issue like my data is not coming, what kind of issues it could be? It could be a binding issues, guys. It could be a binding issue. See, one genuine reason could be there is no data in the backend, okay, which you are fetching. There's no data in the table itself. That could be one genuine issue. That could be another, could be a read issue. You are passing incorrect parameters to read the data. That could be another issue. But many times I observe 50-60% issues are due to binding, incorrect binding. Because of that, they hamper you a lot. Another interesting point here, the female icon not coming, that's because we didn't put the data for Nancy. So I'm just going to go back to, let's say, search for a female icon, and just going to get this, maybe this one, right click, copy image address, and just come and paste into my XML this data. So where's Nancy? She is here, and just paste it into the gender property. Save this. Let's come back, refresh. You would see also an icon popping up for Nancy as well. So that's something you can quite nicely do it. So only two things is these two things which would at the moment not work. You want to make the smoker work, you can make use of expression binding. What do you do in expression binding? Because this smoker property is expecting you to pass a boolean value, and currently the data which XML has is a string data. So what you can do, compare this string data and return a boolean value from an expression binding. Let me show you that working now with one technique, number one, which is using expression binding. So this is how expression binding can help you. So I come back, and where we saw the column for checkbox, here it is for smoker, and now we say again checked property, and I'm now going to bind it, guys, with something called an expression. And this expression actually converts, this expression for me, what it does, it converts my data, which is a string data, to a boolean data. So I say equals to dollar symbol, my current value is smoker. If this value is equals to true, that's a string comparison I'm doing, then you return true, else you return false. So you see here these values are boolean values, however this is a string value which I'm comparing, which my XML is giving me. So this is my XML value, current value, I'm comparing with the string and returning accordingly the boolean values out, guys. That's it, the game is on. Let's come back and refresh. We should see now, oops, not working, press F12, there's something wrong. It doesn't show me anything in the console, anything red in the console. There is something wrong for sure. Let me just check. So equals to dollar smoker, comparing with true, and then Is that the syntax uh, for expression binding? I hope so. That's what exactly we have used. So question mark later, no, at the end you don't need a question mark. Actually, I think you just need this here, question mark first thing, and then there is this one is column. Let me try this. uh, let's refresh, and voila, finally it works. The syntax was incorrect, so first is the expression, and then question mark. If the condition is true, what should we return? We are returning true, else we are returning false, and that's it. You see, with XML model I can make my thing work, guys. That's the beauty. I can make my thing work with the help of XML model. Clear, everyone? How exactly we did it with the smoker property, and now naturally it will work with JSON model also, so there is no problem with that. Rating indicator column, I don't need it, I'm removing it completely. Let me comment that out, because this is itself is a big problem with the blue crystal theme, and it's part of UI commons, so we are not much interested, nobody use this as such, so I'm just removing it. And now you have your complete table, looks neat and clean with all the data being displayed. And the beauty is, if you flip it to a JSON now, it will work. Okay, so that's something which you got to do it. Just one quick hint I am giving, you got to do dynamic binding. I'll just quickly show you dynamic binding, how does it work. So I just press F12 and I will get the object. Okay, and I don't have my XML JSON model simultaneously available, so let me make my JSON model also simultaneously available here. And I just setting it with the named model name, and I say Anubhav. So I have now both my models working together in my application. One is Anubhav model, which is JSON model. एक म्यान में दो तलवारें फिट हो गई, एक हो गई default वाली, एक हो गई अनुभव वाली. So this one is the model which is a named model, right guys? This we saw it in the last classes, named model concept, and this is my default model. So any call which is going always goes to default model, until unless anyone, until unless what do you have to do to make a call to your named model? Which symbol do you use to make a call to named model? Anyone? Which symbol do you use to make a call to a named model? All the call by default goes to default model. Which symbol do you need to use? No, incorrect answer, incorrect answer. You forgot it, guys, you forgot it completely. I clearly showed the named model concept. Let me just go back and show that once again. The named model concept, very important, guys, very important. So where did we have, we don't have it written in the funda foxes anywhere. Okay, we didn't write this in funda foxes, I guess, so maybe I just write it in funda foxes quickly. Yeah, I'll write it here. So in order to point to named model, we use this, sorry, arrow symbol. So if your model name is Anubhav, then we use Anubhav arrow. This is a symbol, and then the property path we can use. This is how we bind it with the named model, guys. So but and then when you flip it, you were actually making Anubhav. You remember the example where we were playing around with one model, making it default model, and the one which was there, we were making it another another model. So that flip example is here, Veronica to default, default to Veronica. This is the example, guys. So here we had two JSON models, but now the question is, we have one XML, one JSON, doesn't matter, their property names are same. So at runtime you will flip, you will make Anubhav model as a default model. I'll just quickly show you running this into console, not in the code. So on click of the button, what you will be doing, that's what I'll show you. Now before that, let's quick, if there's an ID given to my table control. So there is no ID for my table control. Let me give an ID equals to ID table, and now let's show you achieving this in the console. Refresh and come to console, and first check the ID in the DOM for table control. So you see it just appends the view ID before the table ID in XML view cases. So you have to just say var or table equals to get element by id and get the table object for you. And now you have to change the binding at runtime guys, or even without changing binding it will still work. You just have to flip the model. So what you do is sap ui get core dot set model and sap ui get core dot get model, and just get the Anubhav model, making it as a default model. Done. It's not working. The reason is now Anubhav model has become the default model, which is my JSON model, but the path is incorrect. If you remember table, in case of JSON to XML, what did we do? We put /emp tab /row. Now there is no row element in the JSON. So you have to also tell your table that you have to now just do a bind rows just with /emp tab. That's where your data is present. No more /row. That's not the place where data is there. Press this and voila, boom, there you go. Your data comes from the JSON into the table. You can do a reverse process now, making again the XML model as a default model and changing the path at runtime using bind rows method in the table to /row. It would then pop up the XML data. I already gave you now the hint here how it has to be done. So let me just also place this code. So some hint for the exercise I gave you. In fact, the entire source code I've given. So you can, it's just that, you have to go and place this out. Follow concept, don't follow example. If you follow example, you will die. You will die, guys. If you follow example, you won't be able to do things. Just understand concept, go with the flow. Don't panic putting code in the system. What will happen, ज्यादा से ज्यादा फेल हो जाएगा, आउटपुट नहीं आएगा, क्या होगा? जाओ कोड करो सिस्टम में गाइस. यू हैव टू राइट इट डाउन. अंटिल यू राइट इट डाउन देयर इज नो मीनिंग. ज्यादा से ज्यादा आपका आउटपुट नहीं आएगा, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. आई एम देयर फॉर गेटिंग योर आउटपुट, बट यू हैव टू गेट योर हैंड्स डर्टी इनटू द कोड. ठीक है? क्लियर एवरीवन? So that's very important for me, that at least have you tried it? Do you want to lose or you want to try? Okay, so you want to lose, you are lost already. If you decided to lose, you're lost already. If you decided to fight, you won half of the battle. If you decided to fight, you won half of the battle. Let me take a very nice example which I've read it from somewhere. So there are four types of people. The first type of people, to look took an example of alarm clock. How many of you have set alarm every day to wake up early in the morning? So please reply in the chat box. How many of you set alarm in your life to wake up early in the morning? Only one person? Two, three? Only three people? Four, five, six? Okay, everybody have set it. Good. So you all know what is an alarm. So alarm is what we set to maybe deciding, okay, you are deciding in night that tomorrow you will wake up at 4 o'clock. You decided that. Okay, you made a decision, and by making the decision you set an alarm. Now there are four kinds of people. Who first, you set an alarm, very nice, all four of them set the alarm. The first kind of people, those who set the alarm and when the alarm rung, they don't wake up. Okay, their mind give up at the moment alarm rings. Their mind give up. Okay, so these people are actually, I would use a better word, not the word loser. I would say these people are sleepers. They are sleeping. The alarm ring and they are not waking up. They are sleepers. They are continuously sleeping. It doesn't matter for them, which means they gave up on what they have decided last night, what is important for me to do. And then when the time come, they gave up. The first time itself they gave up. These are sleepers. And there's another concept in alarm called snooze, right? What is snooze? And I love that concept. Somebody who has really innovated concept called snooze. When you snooze it for 5 minutes, you say, okay alarm, fine, I'm ready, I hear you, but I just snooze. Please wait for some time. I will decide later. Okay, so these people are snoozers. Okay, so when the time comes, they, okay, now is the right time to do things, but they say, okay, fine, I'm okay, I'm ready, but no, just give me some more time, I need more time. Okay, I can't do it now. Okay, snooze. And then another snooze comes after 5 minutes, and then again they will put it on snooze, and again they will, so they keep on postponing of doing what is important, what they decided last night, but they keeps on postponing that. These are all snoozers. And then the third person types are those people who, with an alarm, after 2 3 snooze they wake up, but they go back again to the sleep. Okay, so this is the kind of third people who gets wake up, but later point of time they go back to the sleep. Okay, so these are backbenchers. They are, backbenchers. They are kind of, they decided, or they woke up, they took some action, but later on they went back to their old state, a lethargic way of, doing things the way they were doing. They were, not so successful with that, but they again go back to their old way. And then comes the last, my favorite. Those are real action men. Those are real action people. With the first alarm hit, they wake up, they're ready, they are charged up, they're ready towards their action. They're really approaching it quite hard. They are playing aggressive, they're not playing defensive, they are playing offensive. And these are all the real people. This is the sign of a successful person. No matter what challenges comes on their way, they are the people who will finally make it happen. So this also applies to your life. Imagine how many times you decided to learn something. When the time came to learn, you are sleeping, you said, okay, now wait, I don't want to learn. You give up. And then another time, the time when you wanted to learn, you decided to learn, and then when the time comes, you say, okay, let's postpone it for one more day. I will, I want to postpone it. And then something else is important again. Your manager comes to you, something else comes, your colleague comes to be, chal yaar chai pe chalte hain. You went away with them. Okay, you went away with somebody for a weekend trip, and then it's like snoozing. You kept on snoozing things. And then maybe the third time, it so happened, many people comes to me, Anubhav, I want training, I want all your modules, give me a BAP on HANA, give me UI5, give me Fiori, give me everything. They take it, they're ready, they took an action, but you know what happens? They give away, they go away, they watch hardly one or two video, they wasted their money, they wasted their time. And that's why I say, don't buy all courses at one shot. By one, at least complete one, and then jump to the another one. This is what I give. I'm not here to really behind getting your money. I'm really trying to save your time. I'm really trying to save some effort, give you some productive outcome which you can use in your company, which can give you some growth in your company. If you are really interested in learning, take one by one. Don't try to jump on everything right away, you will not be able to do it. That's, so people, sometimes I've seen really miraculous people, those who take everything and they are able to complete everything also. That's okay, but it's a good recommendation that you start one by one. So these backbenchers are more dangerous because they kind of waste their time also. They left things in half. Okay, they didn't even give a final touch. And yeah, they went back to their old way of, they chalta hai attitude. So that's what they do. And then these are the people who are my real students. These are all the people I love, these are all the people I work for, these are all the people I prepare my trainings for, who are real action people, who want to really getting into the things, getting into the heart of the things, and try to understand. No matter how much so ever the problem come on their way, they are ready to face the problem, they are ready to challenge it, they are ready to do hard work. Hard work is very important. Hard work makes you successful. Hard work is what will make you successful. So these are all my real students. So try to be an action man, try to be an action people. Don't try to be a snoozer, backbencher, or sleeper. I want each one of you to become this. If you become this, nobody can stop you, nobody can stop you. You can go to your any company, any project, any manager is ready to hire you. You are there, you are there always, you're there always in my list. Okay, so you should not be one of these. With that, it's a wrap on today's class. See you tomorrow at the same time. Have a nice day.
Anubhav, I have a
Goodbye.
question.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, Anubhav, in the in the example, you passed the table ID, right, for XML views. Yeah,
Right, right,
ID view and
right.
So is this a correct way of doing it,
Incorrect way, because
or
I
how do we do
wanted to test it in console, hence I have to do like this, because SAP UI Get Core
it?
works on absolute ID. It doesn't work with ID table.
Okay,
What you will be doing in your action handler? Any guess?
okay,
What you will be doing in your action handler? Do you know? This is what you will be doing in your action handler. This will work in your action handler. Okay.
okay, okay.
This
We'll
won't
just
work
pass
in
it like that.
console, but it will work in action handler, because
Okay,
this dot get view will give you view object. Inside that view, you will say, give me the table object. This is the
okay,
right
okay.
way. This is what
I just saw this a bit odd, so I thought I'll ask you. So
okay.
okay, I got it. Thank
Because I wanted to show these thing example that is feasible. If I can
you.
do
Okay,
it, you can do it. That's why I just use this way. If you want to get object in the console, you have to use this way. Inspect element, get its
okay,
ID, and then do it. Yes.
okay.
Okay. Another question,
Thank
what
you.
is popular model in industry? Absolutely JSON model. There is no room for XML model. I have not seen any project till date using XML model. JSON, resource, and OData. Only these three model works in industry. Um, Majority of the time we work with OData, like 60% OData, 30% resource, and 10% JSON. This last 40-50% may vary between JSON and resource. We also extensively use JSON model actually for local processing within the view. Okay, it's very extremely important. So don't think that OData is important, वो तो पढ़ाया नहीं, पढ़ाएंगे, आएंगे उस पे आएंगे, अभी डोज दे देंगे तो मर जाओगे, अभी दे दूंगा ना तो सब मर जाओगे, अगले दिन से कोई क्लास में नहीं आएगा. So I current strength today is 23 students in my current session. So I will see next day 10, and next to that 5, and next to that 1 or 2 hardly. Okay. So I don't want to do that. So hold on for some time. When the right time comes, you will get the right concept in your hand, and just follow with the flow. Okay. How can we connect to, okay, let me just check. How can we connect to SAP database with web id so that we can display real data? If you are pretty much interested right away for that, so watch out my learning series video. So it's there on my website, so you can just go and check that out. I've already explained this, starting creating a database table, on top of it creating an OData service, and then accessing your OData service from your web IDE. All that is what is pretty much explained in these videos. These three videos, you watch them. A complete end-to-end POC is demonstrated here. A complete pizza application we have built here in this, using a database table to OData service, to testing OData service using Postman plugin. What is a batch request? Consuming the OData service and building an app in WebID using template, and calling the OData methods using manual code using JavaScript and XML views from a Fury application. So end-to-end POC covered in this. If you are want to go ahead much ahead of it, these videos are there for you guys. But I don't want to disturb whole class, whole batch by giving these advanced dose. Some of you may already be working on project, and it's absolutely fair if you want to go ahead little advanced and do things up. No problem, I'm fine with it. You can watch these videos are there for you. Okay. Another interesting video you can do for configuration part, just go to my YouTube channel. So maybe I copy this video URL and just go to my YouTube channel. There is a video on my YouTube channel, and that video is about how to set up your web IDE with a destination connecting to the backend system. So you can connect your web IDE to the backend system, guys. That's something which you can do it, and it's covered in one of my video. I will give the link of that also in a minute. So let me just do it. And another thing, you might be hearing a lot of concept in your company right now, CDS views, AMDP. So watch this video which I posted 2 days back. This is from my ABAP on HANA class. 2 hours of video gives you a good understanding of CDS view. I mean, at least the basic understanding which is missing today in us. Why CDS view? This is a question which comes in our mind, that we have views. Okay, we have data dictionary views in SE11,
then why do we need CDS view? So I have explained in this video. It's absolutely free knowledge for all of you. You can go back and check this. It at least gives you some idea about why CDS views, why not the traditional SE11 database view. This is a comparison which I've done in this video. It will be really helpful for you guys, those who are interested to know about it. Maybe don't want to go with complete ABAP on HANA right now, but just want to understand what is a CDS view, what is a ABAP managed data procedure, AMDP. So this video is for you. I posted it on YouTube. You see, in just when I posted 12th of March, today is 14. In just 2 days I've got 155 views by far, and it's keep on increasing. So hopefully I see some more, but just go through this, it will be helpful. Now let me just show you the one which you asked for, setting up destination from your local web IDE. So that's something you can come to playlist and go here in the playlist and then search for video getting started with SAP Web IDE Fiori Personal Edition. Here is the one video. So when I actually go through this video, this is where I explain how to create a destination file to connect to your SAP backend system. Okay, so watch this video, you will get a fair idea about it. So I'll just put it in the PPT. So this is video for you. Those who don't want to right now, hurry up. Uh, no problem, don't do anything. I will cover all these things in our course going forward. But right now, those who are already working on project, there is a burning need, you want it immediately, I have already a video created for you. Okay guys, so this is what
Anubhav, do you have anything on working with Eclipse?
Absolutely, yes, I do have it. In fact, the video which I just showing you in the learning series, I have showed how to start with a project in Web IDE and import it to Eclipse. It's there in my learning series video. So watch this video number 3. This one, this guy here, this gentleman, in this I've showed. Many people come to me, hey Anubhav, we are using not using Web IDE, we are using Eclipse. So you see, I've showed building an app in Eclipse. So first we start with creating a project with personal edition in Web IDE, and then I download that project and show you how to check this out in the Eclipse. And then I have imported the whole project in Eclipse. You can see it's imported to Eclipse, and now I'm running from Eclipse. Watch this video. This video is for you. If you want to know setup of Eclipse, then that is also covered. There is one more video in my UI5 learning series. So this one was in Anubhav learning series. There's one in UI5 learning series. In this you will find a video how to get started with Eclipse development environment. So you see, set up Eclipse for and create a Fiori app. First Fiori app on setting up Eclipse. So watch this video. In this I've explained how to set up Eclipse starting from scratch, and start your creation of Fiori application into the Eclipse development environment. So you will see some part of it will be repeating because I'm explaining OpenUI5, SPUI5 stuff like that. But yes, you would see, you'd get a fair idea of Eclipse based development, because many companies are using Eclipse, they are not using Web IDE. Clear? Anyone, any other questions? So I
No,
have
that's
I
it.
have the required knowledge for you guys. It's just that you need to
Yeah, Anubhav, I have a doubt.
yes please.
Actually, I tried calculator program in HANA WebID trial, but I am not getting executed. I
Can you
got an
share your
error.
screen? Is it possible to share?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I can. Can you provide me access?
Yeah, I'll just give you the access. I'm not sure if you can, but let's try. So you're using, okay, guys, let me just quickly brief you about what he is using. He is using SAP HANA Cloud Platform. And in SAP HANA Cloud Platform, SAP offers something called SAP Web IDE also. So the one which we are using is personal edition. We download it to local computer, but there is one which is used in cloud. So he's using the cloud web IDE, and there he is finding some issue. Okay, so you can see he's
Yeah,
using
the same program is executing properly by using Eclipse, but when I use in WebID trial, it's not
acha, acha.
executing.
ठीक है, let's see that. I hope it should work fine.
Are you able to see
Yeah,
my
we can
screen
see your
now?
screen. Yes, we can see.
Thanks.
So this is another way, guys, to access SAP Web IDE directly into HANA Cloud Platform. And the registration for HANA Cloud Platform is free. There's a trial account which you can create in HCP. I also provide HCP course, a detailed HCP course where I cover core Java, Java Persistence API, Olingo framework, JNDI lookup, JDBC connection, ODBC connection, using SQL database, using HANA shared database in the cloud, creating Fury application using Cloud Web IDE, deploying it in HANA Cloud Portal, custom identity provider, consuming your OData service from a Java-based application, creating a Java-based application var, Maven concept, using Eclipse link library, dependency management in Eclipse for core Java, and then deploying the entire Java application, web application into HANA Cloud Platform, running it, configuring the destination, contacting it, HANA Cloud Connector integration with on-premise system. All these things are covered in HANA Cloud Platform training, very exclusively designed training for developers working in the cloud. Okay, it's taking some time. Looks like not loading. Is it possible if you can download this and send it to me? I hope it should be. There must be. Okay, now it's loading. Fine. We can see that we have another 5 minutes to go. It's a little slow. Why don't you use personal edition? That's better.
Yes, I'm using Eclipse, but I just want to try one program on this.
Acha,
That's
acha,
why
acha.
I have.
ठीक है. That's okay. That's okay. That's fair. I see. Not one. You're trying many. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, this one I downloaded after Raji's
Acha.
code. I downloaded.
Okay. Show me index HTML. Okay. First, close all the
Yeah,
files. This is the biggest problem. You see, there are two index HTML open, and we don't know which one to change. So close all the files, please. First of all, yes, so
yeah,
that
sure.
we are not confused with something. Okay, so you have started with the UF5 resource, UF5 code.js, you have commons. Okay, cal is, you put dot slash is the path. Okay, you started cal.view.main, and then it's of type JS view and placing it in the DOM. Come down, please, in the body. Show me if you have a div tag with the content ID. Yes, you do have it. Okay, execute it. Press F12 and show me the console. Okay, now
Yeah, sure.
on the top you see a pop-up blocker which is blocking your output. Yes, click on that and say allow, always allow. So this is something which anyone can face in a web IDE. And now you run it. Press F12, please. Looks like it has loaded, but
Yes.
something is wrong. Go to console. Console is your best friend. Ah, so many errors. Nice. Let's check it out. Something which is more relevant for us. Scroll up a little bit. I see. Yes, SAP UI Core MVC controller is the problem. You have used old way of creating controller. You have not used scaffolding template. Show me your controller. I think this project you created in Eclipse and trying to run it with the web IDE, isn't it?
No, no, I have created it here itself.
Okay, it's scaffolding only. I see line number 6. There is a problem. Extend is spelling is incorrect. Please.
Okay.
EXTEBD. Save this, run again. So console is your best friend. Just refresh that window. Yes. And now another problem looks like it's unable to do something. Just scroll up. SAP UI Core MVC controller. Go back, please. Controller का C बड़ा होना चाहिए. in the scaffolding, can you see on the top?
Yes.
Yes, this MVC after that controller C should be capital.
Yes.
Yes, save this. So remember always the library name dot control name always starts with capital letter. That's what it is telling in console. It's unable to load this controller file.
Got it.
Is it
Yep.
working? Wow,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
button comes up.
Thanks.
All the errors are gone. Follow concept,
Yes.
not
Thank you.
example. Okay, great.
Yes, thank you.
Looks like good. Thank you so much with that. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.